I'm happy to say that the new Smashing Pumpkins album, Aghori Mhori Mei, is big on the guitars and rocks pretty hard. Not that every Pumpkins album has to rock in the traditional sense, but it is nice to hear the band back in the rock realm with some big-ass riffs and some catchy hooks. And it's proof that we Smashing Pumpkins fans need to relax big time and let Billy and the band just cook sometimes. Let's break it all down on this edition of Rock Album Review. Hey everybody, it's Nick here with you. Welcome back to the channel. So, the Smashing Pumpkins are back with their 13th studio album. It's called Aghori Mhori Mei, and it's a follow-up to 2022 and 2023's Autumn album trilogy. And it was released with very little marketing and very little advanced promotion. There was no lead single. The band only announced the album a couple of weeks ago, and it came out today, and here we are. And we Smashing Pumpkins fans have a very interesting and complicated relationship with Billy Corgan and the Smashing Pumpkins. We want Billy to explore his creative endeavors and his different styles, but as Pumpkins fans, we don't always love the result. And the Autumn trilogy in general was very much synth-led songs. There wasn't many guitars on that album aside from Beguiled and some of the other assorted tracks. I reviewed it here on the channel, and I'll link it up for you here if you want to watch it. But after the release of the Autumn trilogy last year, fans were kind of disappointed with that one, and they were hoping for something a little more old school Smashing Pumpkins, and Aghori Mhori Mei is definitely it. Obviously, the thing that you can hear right off the bat with this album is that the band has brought the guitars back, that big Smashing Pumpkins guitar sound, those big muff guitars, and they sound like a real band again. And I think it just proves to us Smashing Pumpkins fans that we really just need to relax and maybe just let Billy and James and Jimmy do their thing and stop harassing them all the time, asking them to be what we want them to be. They've said they approached the recording of Aghori Mhori Mei like their earlier albums, and you can definitely tell that throughout this record. They very much play within the Smashing Pumpkins sound that everybody knows and loves, with actually even more of a heavy edge than I expected. Yes, there's definitely some Siamese Dream and Melancholy influences on this album, very much in the vein of those early records, but to me it sounds more like the 21st century Smashing Pumpkins albums like Oceania and Zeitgeist, even Monuments to an Elegy, which are albums that I really loved. They were more guitar-driven Pumpkins albums that I enjoyed quite a bit over the years. And right from the get-go on Aghori Mhori Mei, the Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan, they let you know that they mean business with the big riffs and the big guitars, that this is a Smashing Pumpkins rock album through and through. On the rock side of things, from the opening track called Eden, right off the bat, we are in it. We are in this shit. The Pumpkins back in fine form. The opening riff on this song is really cool before it explodes into a huge Pumpkins song with big guitars and the big drums. I love the middle riff of this song, very much a Siamese Dream kind of vintage pumpkin sound. And then this song in general reminded me of a song from Oceania, the first track on that record, which was called Quasar, which is just, again, a big bombastic opener that sets the tone for the rest of the record. Very, very cool. It's a 7-minute song that kicks off this epic album, and we know that we're in for something special from the Smashing Pumpkins. And that continues throughout the first half of the record. We get into songs like Pentagrams, which really had some great guitars on here. The guitar tones on here are pretty sick in general. Great tones, some really cool chugging guitars, some great harmonies on here from Billy Corgan as well. Jimmy Chamberlin's drums on here are really pounding. After Autumn, really didn't seem like I had a lot of live drums from Jimmy Chamberlain. It's nice to let them, unleash him on this record. Really heavy breakdown on this song as well. It's not something that really got from a lot of the past Pumpkins records. We have breakdowns, but there are some really cool breakdowns on here and a big guitar solo, so I really like Pentagrams. Sigomi had an awesome intro riff. It really makes you want to rock that F out. You know, the melody maybe didn't grab me as much as some of the other songs, but I think it had one of the best intros of the entire record, and I think maybe one of the best riffs on the record. You'll have to let me know in the comments. By the way, guys, if you like what I'm doing here on the channel, you like this review, make sure to toss me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. And if you want to hit the subscribe button, that'd be awesome as well. We can rock out together on a regular basis. I really liked Pentecost. This song reminded me of an epic Pumpkin song, kind of akin to Through the Eyes of Ruby or Porcelina. arena of the vast oceans. Reminded me a little bit of an Autumn track. Not that that's a bad word or a bad sound right off the bat, but then it really picked up. And this album still rocks, but it has the variety and the dynamics. We say that we want the Pumpkins to rock, but Billy Corgan can do much more than that in terms of his songwriting. It's not always balls to the wall in every song, and that's okay. We just want the songs to be good, and thankfully for this record, that is the case for most of the tracks. War Dreams of Itself, Back Into It was a heavy as fuck Smashing Pumpkins guitar riff, Beguiled-esque chunky guitars. The palm mutes on this record, the palm muting guitar playing on this record is definitely on point. When you have the palm mutes in place, you know you're going to be rocking. And then people say they want that old school Pumpkin sound, but actually this seems much heavier than some of the stuff that we heard on Siamese Dream and Melancholy. Like I said, more akin to Oceania in terms of the guitar sound and the heaviness. This song has a great groove on it as well. It makes you want to bounce. Jimmy Chamberlin is really bopping on this track, and then you have a halftime breakdown at the end of the song. And the Smashing Pumpkins in general are just crushing it on this record. They sound great. And even though the album is pretty heavy for the most part, Billy, James, and Jimmy also bring us some really bright and melodic Smashing Pumpkins songs on here that remind me of some of the heyday of the band. Who Goes There had a really softer synth-led sound to it. It was upbeat and bright. It actually reminded me of something that could have been on the Zwan album that came out 20 plus years ago. It could have been a solid single, this one too. Who Goes There could have been a solid single if they chose to release a single from the album ahead of time. I don't know if they have any plans to release a single after this. And like I said, not everything has to be rock all the time. It just has to have a good melody. It has to have a cool vibe. And I think that this one is a really cool one that really shows all the different sides of the Smashing Pumpkins, and also has a little bit of an unconventional chord structure and chord changes to it as well. I thought Who Goes There was a really cool track. Then we get to a track called Goeth the Fall. Now, in addition to the awesome title, this is another bright, sunshiny Smashing Pumpkins song. Reminds me of the song Silvery Sometimes, Ghost from the Shiny and Oh So Bright album. And Billy Corgan, even though he's bringing back the heaviness, he knows how to appeal to our emotions as well and write some really nice melodies that we're going to enjoy. So Goeth the Fall was not the heaviest song on the album, but I really enjoyed it. And that just goes to show you that when he's writing a little bit stronger than he did in the Autumn trilogy, us as fans, we're going to respond to that. But not every track on Aghori Mhori Mei was a home run for me. 999, I thought it had one of the best riffs and intros on the album, hitting all the right notes, but maybe not the best melody on the record, but that's okay. But forget 666. 999 is the new number of the beast. It's the number of the Pumpkins. And this actually had a really super catchy guitar breakdown in it as well. Like I said, this album has quite a few awesome breakdowns in it. 999, maybe not the strongest song on the record, but still enjoyable. Then we get to some other tracks on here. Sycorax, towards the end of the record, not my favorite. It had some other great palm muting guitars on it as well. And then the last song on here was okay. It was called Murnau, and I think I have to give this one a couple more listens before I can really get into it. It reminded me of a song called Pinwheels from the Oceania album, and then it reminded me a little bit of Autumn, which again is not a bad thing. Completely, it's not a bad word. It's not a bad sound, but it reminded me a little bit of that. I have to listen to it a little bit more, but I thought it was a decent closer for the album. Overall, the Smashing Pumpkins are back in fine form with the big riffs and the big guitars that we know and love. Not that they had to do that. I feel like Billy Corgan feels like he has to be obligated to do that sound to appeal to a lot of the old school Smashing Pumpkins fans. It's not necessary, but it is nice to hear on this record. There are some elements of more recent Smashing Pumpkins records like Autumn still here and there, which is okay. It's nothing to be afraid of. And then Billy's vocals in general on here sound a little bit muffled in spots. It doesn't sound quite as bright as it should. Sometimes the music drowns out his vocals, which is a little problematic at times. My girlfriend Danielle, who I've had here on the channel, she says that Billy's voice doesn't really have the rasp and the edge to it that it used to. And she's absolutely right. I don't think that she's wrong on that, but I still think he sounds great as a vocalist. I think in general that he sounds pretty strong as a vocalist. So that's a minor complaint complaint. I think the album, because it is so heavy, could have benefited from a little bit more rasp in Billy Corgan's voice, but otherwise that's just a minor nitpick. And even though it's a strong album overall, I think this is really good. It might take a few more listens for the songs really to sink in and for the melodies to latch into my brain a little bit. It's not really an immediate record in that sense. It maybe could have used a few more hooks here and there, but in general, I think the songwriting on the record is really strong. I just got to dig into it and really enjoy this New Pumpkins record. And I really enjoy this current incarnation of the Smashing Pumpkins. You got Billy, you got James back in there, Jimmy Chamberlain, you got Jack Bates on bass. I don't think he plays on this record. I think he just plays live. I have their new guitar player Ginger on there, and then you got Katie Cole on background vocals. I always thought that the lady background vocals, the female background vocals on the last few Smashing Pumpkins albums was really something that added another layer and dimension to the sound, some textures in there as well, similar to how Darcy used to provide backup vocals for the band. So I think they have a really good lineup going right now. And I love how the Smashing Pumpkins are just having a lot of fun on this record, turning the guitars up to 11 and just letting it rip. It sounds like they're having a lot of fun. There's some really cool breakdowns on here. It would have been cool to be a fly on the wall in the room as they were working out these songs, because I have a feeling that they had a lot of fun doing it. And overall, this new album, Aghori Mhori Mei, is a much more balanced Smashing Pumpkins record than Autumn or even Sear, which came out before that. It's more akin to something like Shiny and Oh So Bright, where there was more variety on there than just the synth electronic sound that they leaned on over the last few records. And as I said, maybe as Pumpkins fans, we just need to relax. I feel like we're always so anxious about what's going to come next from this band and what Billy's going to do. And I think we should just let Billy cook, because he can obviously make big rock music. I say the same thing about Weezer and how people want them to sound like the Blue Album and Pinkerton, is that they can do that sound when they want to, but they're artists and they have to explore their creative side, their creative pursuits, and just go there. Sometimes it works, like on a record like this, but sometimes it doesn't, like an album like Autumn, and that's okay. But they have to try out those different influences and expressions, and I think it really works on this record. And I think this album is the best Smashing Pumpkins album since Oceania in 2012. There's a lot of similarities, a lot of parallels sonically and songwriting wise between the two records. And I hate to be one of those stereotypical Smashing Pumpkins fans who only likes the old school stuff. That is absolutely not true, because I love Sear. I love a lot of the songs on Autumn. I love Shiny and Oh So Bright. I love every Smashing Pumpkins album. And just on this one, Aghori Mhori Mei, it's just nice to hear the Smashing Pumpkins rock out again. So I'm going to give the new album from the Smashing Pumpkins, Aghori Mhori Mei, a solid 4 out of 5. And that is it, guys. That is my rock album review for the brand new album from the Smashing Pumpkins. This is going to be interesting to see your comments. Make sure to comment below about what you think of this album and how you stack it up against the other Pumpkins albums. Is it a return to form? Do you think the Smashing Pumpkins have done it again and gone back to that old school sound that everybody's going to love? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to toss me a thumbs up if you like this review. I really appreciate that. If you like the channel, make sure to smash that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future videos, and we can rock out together on a daily basis. But I'll see you guys again for another rock album review here on the channel. Until then, rock on, everybody.